But my name is Thomas Whitelaw, and I was a full-time carer for my kind, beautiful, magnificent mum, Joan. My mum passed away on the 22nd of the 9th, 2012, and my mum had vascular dementia. I came back to visit my mum in 2007, not because of dementia or to be a carer. I had no clue or understanding of dementia or who a carer was. I came back for a couple of reasons. I travelled pretty much consistently. I worked in music and travelled pretty much 10, 11 months of the year, and for the 20 years previous to that. And I was a bit burnt out and a bit lost and making quite a few mistakes. But I came back for the same reasons that most sons go back to visit their mum or dad. My relationship had broken down, or been chucked, they call it in Glasgow. But that's the first place you go when things go wrong. If your mum or dad are there, you go back to your mum or dad, no matter how young or old you are, because they make it better. They take time to listen. They help you understand, and they help you get back onto the road that you've fallen from. And that's what I was coming back for my mum to do what she'd always done, is put her arms around me and make it better. And even when I first came back, I was coming back for me. And from a distance, people had got in touch to say they were becoming concerned about my mum, some friends, some neighbours. But I just thought my mum was just getting a wee bit older. I was getting on with my own life and making my own mistakes. When I first came back, I was taking 3 or 4 months off, thinking I'll find out more and I'll keep a better eye on my mum, even from a distance, but I'll put things in place. And things had changed, and were going to change even more. And coming back, 3 months became 6 months, became 9 months, and became a year. And then amongst that year, my mum was diagnosed with vascular dementia. And in amongst that year of finding my mum, writing her name on her arm to remind her who she was. Finding scraps of paper underneath her pillow with my name on it to remind her who the person in the house was. And in amongst the fear, a fear that was a constant in my mum's eyes. And a loneliness that started to set in. People who used to phone never really phoned so much. People who used to come and visit didn't really visit. In fact, that became, if you ever really need us, you know where we are. But we never used to have to really need them. They used to come and visit my mum. And at the end of that year, in a moment of clarity and late night discussion, and with my mum kind of grabbed my hand tightly and told me she was scared and asked me, please don't put me into care. Quite a big question in many ways, but not as big as the questions that I've asked my mum in the years previous to that. And I tried to make my mum a promise that night that I would care for her in her own home. A promise that's made to us by governments and by authorities and by many others. And in the situation, I came back for my mum to help me, and I didn't want to go away from her. And maybe if I was married with 3 children in different circumstances, my answer might have been different, but I can only answer the question that was asked on the day. But after the 2nd and the 3rd year, as dementia was doing everything in its power to affect my mum's greatness, never in my eyes or heart, but to affect her greatness, to affect her opportunity to be recognised as Joan Whitelaw, quite often described as, oh, that's the wee woman with dementia. But that was Joan Whitelaw sitting there. To be part of the community she grew up in, she got married in, she brought her children up in, and she worked in, loneliness and isolation took hold. And that was the theme for the last of those 3 years. We were living thinking, if we can just get through today, if we can make it to bedtime tonight, then we just might make it to tomorrow. But that's not living. That's struggling. That's falling apart. And there was 2 people in our house, lost, lonely, scared, and struggling. And I got up one day and thought, I just can't do it. Tomorrow just seems too far away. I don't think I can make tonight to make tomorrow. And I was 47 at the time. And I took my mum by her hand and I took her to a health centre to try and get help. And I cried the whole way on the bus there. I sat crying on the bus. And I cried walking from the bus to the health centre and cried walking through the doors and asked for help. But I was told you can't just walk in here. You have to make an appointment. You have to go home and make an appointment. But making an appointment and the next day seemed just too far away. And we walked out of there with less chance and less hope than we walked in. And that was a bad day. Of the good days and the bad days and the days that we smiled and the days that we cried, that was the most dreadful day. And all I could think about on the way home was that everybody on that bus was staring at me because I was crying. Everybody walking down the street was looking at us because they could see two people who really were struggling. And everybody in the waiting room who are sitting the way you're sitting today were looking at us because they could see two people really needed help. Yet we were told to come back another day. When I got home that night, I knew what the answer was going to be, that I was going to have a breakdown, that we had reached a point and my mum would be put into care. Not because it was the best thing in a discussion and we were included in for Joan Whitelaw, for my mum, but because we had fallen apart. And I didn't want that to be the end of the story. It wasn't the promise I made just over 3 years before. And I started a campaign from my bedroom. I started writing a little blog. And I don't even know if anybody was reading it, but I felt better. I felt better when my mum went to bed at night, as if I wasn't being judged and I was telling someone how I truly felt inside, how we felt inside. But I made a promise on my blog that in 8 months' time from then, I would walk around Scotland, not to raise money, but if people would share their experiences with me, good or bad, I would walk straight to the Scottish Parliament and ask them to read them. And people wrote to me in their hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and now thousands, from Scotland, from England, from Wales, from around the world. And every single letter I've received has the word love. The word love appears in every single letter. Or you know the person sent it. They sent it because they truly love someone. But the word love is outmatched and outnumbered by the word loneliness. The word loneliness appears more times. The word isolation and the words understanding. I don't understand what's happening to us. We don't understand what's happening. And far too often from people with good intentions, the people we meet don't understand how we feel inside, how we live, and what our chances are. And normally I would show a short film about that where you would meet some husbands and wives who met one day and fell in love. It's always about love. I hope today's about love. It feels like that's what it's about, but I hope it's about love. Husbands and wives who met one day and fell in love and brought their children up and planned retirement and planned their future. And I made that film to show the impact if we don't have understanding, if we don't treat people with kindness, if we don't give people a chance. But in making that film, and the film was made for a specific reason, I wanted to give the letters a voice, because I'd lost my voice caring for my mum. We had lost our voice. And in collecting them, 2 sisters got in touch with me and asked if I would come and visit them. That their story was so tragic that they didn't want to just email it or post it to me. Could I come and collect it in person? And I got the train through one day during my respite hours to visit them. And I knocked on their door. And one sister was so angry and furious and agitated and almost ready for a fight. But she was really none of those things. She was just scared of what was happening to the mum that she loved. And the other sister couldn't lift her head up. And when she lifted her head up, you didn't have to ask her. You could see her heart was truly broken. She had a broken heart. And I sat down with them. And on their dining room table was a mass of correspondence. Hundreds of letters of arguments and disagreements and fights about the care or lack of care of a human being. The care or lack of care about somebody's mum. And I don't think it takes 150 letters to care for someone. It just takes you and me. I don't think it takes 150 letters to get it right or wrong. It just takes you and I and our communities to be kind to each other. It doesn't take 150 letters. And it was dreadful. I won't go into the details, but it was dreadful. And when I left, I kept thinking, I've been both of those sisters. In fact, I am both of those sisters. Some days I'm so angry and scared and furious, And other days I just can't stop crying. And sometimes all in the one day. But when I was there, I said to them, in about 5 months' time, I'm going to Parliament. I want you to come with me. I want you to tell people how you feel inside about your mum. And they agreed that they would. And about a month before I was going, I got downstairs one day and a wee letter popped through my door. And it was one of the most beautiful letters you could ever wish to read. It was absolutely glorious and joyful and full of love and kindness from the same two sisters, about the same mum, about the same hospital. And the only difference in that letter was a person. It was a person, a consultant who changed everything, who took time to listen, to engage, who helped the two sisters and their mum get the best of support, helped them understand what lay ahead and where they were. And I think he's amazing. I think he's brilliant. And I hope that's who you are. I hope that's what today's about. I hope it's who you were yesterday, who you are today, and who you want to be tomorrow. Because we should celebrate that kind of understanding. To take a table full of tragedy, a table full of disagreement, and turn it back into a love story. And every single one of us deserves a love story. Because that's what caring's about. It's about our loves. It's about our families and our husbands and our wives and our sons and our daughters. But it's always about love. And that was the same experience in caring for my mum. And it's the story of the letters. When you read all these thousands of letters, it's people that shine out. Over above any policy or strategy or booklet or anything. It's people that make it a beautiful letter to read. But it's also people that make it quite a distressful letter to read. It's always about the people we live beside, we meet, we engage with. It's people who change lives. I came back in 2007 for my mum to put her arms around me. Because that's what mums do. They put their arms around their children. And those changes came fast and furious for the next 6 years. We started off there with my mum writing her name in her arm. And at the end of 6 years, being unable to walk, unable to talk, unable to swallow, unable to remember who she was, who I was, unable to remember the man she met one day and fell in love with. And those changes came fast and furious. From my mum knowing she was in her house to not, to knowing how to brush her hair, to not, to knowing who she was. And every time they came, they knocked us on our knees. Just as we thought we were getting the hang of it or building a routine to make it the best possible day, dementia would change everything. And we would have to regroup, re-struggle, sometimes re-smile. My mum could keep bringing smiles, but too often re-struggle. And I got up one day to give my mum her breakfast and her medication. And the finest, most dignified person, my mum, had an accident in her bed. And my mum was doubly incontinent in an overnight sleep. It was that quick. And I knew it was forever. Because the changes were always forever. They were forever, they never came back. And I didn't know what to do because before that we struggled. I would put my mum's clothes out in the order she wore them, always looking away to protect her dignity. If she went to the bathroom, I would sit outside and try and talk her through it. I would run the bath, but always looking away, always making sure, would my mum be okay with this? I think that's a really important question, isn't it? Are you okay with me doing this for you? Are you okay with me doing this to you? I think they're really important questions we have to ask. But I couldn't do that day. This was different. And I thought, if I get the bath and I fill it up with bubbles, I can get my mum in and I won't see her. I won't see my mum naked. I won't see her in this most private, delicate, intimate position. But I knew my mum shouldn't lie like that for a second. No person should be left to, no matter who they are. Not just my mum, everyone. Because we should be allowing people the chance to live to the best every single day. And allowing them to continue to make the choices they made when they could make them for themselves. And I got my mum with my eyes closed and I carried her to the bath and I got her in and I washed her. Not looking, but constantly asking, how does my mum feel about this? How would my mum feel about me doing this for her? And how did I feel about doing that as a son? And I washed her hair with her favourite shampoo because I wanted my mum's hair to smell beautiful. You knew you were standing beside my mum because her hair always smelt beautiful. And we should allow that to everybody. The choices we made, if we're really going to care for people, we should continue to help those choices be achievable. And I wanted my mum's hair to smell beautiful again. And I got my mum out and stripped to bed, but we were in turmoil. In amongst the good days and the bad days and the happy days and the sad, this was another dreadful day. And I thought this was the end. Where do we go? And I phoned up to try and get some help from an incontinence nurse. But I was told it's June and 2 are on holiday and 2 are off sick and you're not the only person that needs help today. And I don't know where the word dignity comes into that. We truly did need help that day. My mum needed help for her dignity. And then they told me if I phone and complain enough, we'd get pushed up the queue. But I refused to do that because my mum wouldn't like that. My mum wouldn't steal somebody else's opportunity or chance of dignity. So I didn't do it because I had to make decisions and choices that my mum would make. It was my mum's life we were talking about. But I phoned the GP and told him, and I said, and he tried to tell me the same story, which I really didn't want to hear. And he said he would get a district nurse to come and visit us. He said, the district nurse, I said, my mum, in between opening and closing my eyes, my mum's getting sore, she's incontinent. He said, I'll get the district nurse to come and give you some advice. She's coming on Thursday at 1 o'clock. And I thought about 12:30, I'll get my mum in a bath, because when I was a wee boy, when you went to the doctors, you get flung in the bath. When you went to the hospital, you get put in the bath. You have to be at your best. Someone's going to examine you. Be at your best. Put on the best you can. And I thought, I want my mum, I want her hair to smell beautiful because the district nurse will lean over and she'll undress her. And I want my mum to be the very best she can be that day. About 12:30, I got my mum in the bath. And the same thing with my eyes closed into tears and the questions of, is this the right thing for my mum? And how do we feel about this? The most important questions, I think, are you okay with this? Really important. But the district nurse arrived while I was bathing my mum, and I shouted down and invited her up the stairs. But as I heard her walking up, I just wanted to cry. And I wanted her to hear, I wanted someone to hear me crying. I wanted someone to know how as a son, how I felt inside, that I was lost. And the door opened of my bathroom, and the district nurse didn't have to say a single word. She didn't have to ask a question. And she put her hand on my shoulder and told me I was doing a great job of caring for my mum. And she showed me how to wash my mum, and she showed me how to lift her, and she showed me how to dry my mum like a lady. Because I'm sure my mum always dried herself like a lady when she dried herself. And I think she's amazing. I think that district nurse is brilliant. And I hope that's who you are. I hope that's who you were yesterday, who you are today, who you want to be tomorrow, and what today is all about. It's putting our hands on someone's shoulder and making it better. And if I saw that district nurse today, I would tell her thank you for making it better. And if I saw her again tomorrow, I would tell her thank you again. And the thing about that nurse was she didn't even know she was doing it. She was just being a great nurse. That's what good nurses do. That's what good people do. We recognise people at their most vulnerable, and we put our hands on their shoulder and we prop them up and we listen. And she was amazing. And I hope really that's what today is all about. It's about putting our hands on the shoulders of our most vulnerable, of the families, of our communities, because we can't do it on our own. I tried it, and it's the most impossible task. I'm going to read a very short letter to you just now because so many people write to me. And I feel it's important, and it's about, they're all love stories. Whatever way you read them or look at them, or the people who read from the film, it was always about love. And I'm going to read a very short letter to you today that I hope makes you understand why today and the work you're doing today is so important to the people who live across Kent. This came in the 3rd of March, and these are not my glasses. I bought them for £1, and I don't know if they're comedy ones, but I have to read this letter. These letters that come, and they come from a page to 5 pages to 10 pages long. It's always about how people met, It always starts about the day we met and fell in love. What a wonderful way to start a letter. I met someone one day and we fell in love with each other. And about the growth and working and children, and then dementia comes along. And it changes. The next page changes if we don't get it right. But it's always about the people. You can see it coming. And you think, if only I would have put this in place there, the next bit of that letter would change. But that's not a letter. That's somebody's life. But this came on the 3rd of March. It says, "Dear Tommy, I'm writing to see if anything can be done to help me. I am 80 years of age and my husband is almost 77 and he has vascular dementia and our life is very tough. It's tough for me as his wife and his carer. He is, I believe, in the middle stages of dementia. As I said, I'm finding it very tough and there is no one to share or help me get through this. I feel so very low and so very, very lonely. I need a human, listening, understanding ear. None of my family or friends seem to understand what we are going through. Only someone who understands dementia or another carer would know how we feel. We have been married for 53 years and it's such a happy marriage. Now I'm losing my husband in my marriage. Can someone come and help me? As a society, I don't know where to start with what's wrong with that letter. I think the fact that she had to send it to me. But that's a love story. We have been married for 53 years. That's a love story. To feel that lonely, to feel that lost. As a society, we fail people. But I know who she'd love to meet. She'd love to meet that consultant because he'd take time to listen. She would love that district nurse to walk into her house because she would put her hand on her shoulder and be that human listening ear. And I truly, truly hope that she would love to meet you. I hope that's you I'm describing today. I hope you are that consultant. I hope you are that district nurse, that volunteer, that friend, that neighbour, that counsellor, that person. Because it's really important. Our love stories are really important. And they deserve to end a love story, not a tragedy. I'm going to finish and tell you a wee bit about my mum before I go. And it's not just about my mum, it's how I feel inside. It's the story of my letters. It's the story of the people I've met. And it's the story if it's missing or if it's wrong or if it's right that can break our hearts or it can make us succeed. My mum's name was Joan Whitelaw. She was born on the 15th of the 7th, 1939. Her mum died when she was 4 and her dad passed away when she was 7. And her big sister, who went on to have 8 children of her own, took my mum in and cared for her. She put her arms around her and took her in. I will be there for you. I will protect you. I will keep you safe. I will keep you from fear. That's caring. If anybody ever asks me, what does caring mean? Well, that's what it sounds like to me. I'll put my arms around you. I will keep you safe. I will keep you from fear. And that was the building blocks that made my mum the most remarkable person. I was very lucky to be her son. My mum understood what it meant to be lost and vulnerable at 7, and what it meant and how it felt when someone cared for her. And my mum couldn't stop caring for and about everybody she met. She knew how important it was to be cared for. And she went out and she got a job, and you would have saw her in my little film that I sometimes show, in her wedding dress. And she had no money, and she made that wedding dress with her own hands. And to me, that's a love story. I made my own wedding dress. That's a love story. And she met my dad, her only ever boyfriend, his only ever girlfriend. And to me, that's a love story. And my mum and dad gave their children everything without taking anything for themselves. And that's a love story. In fact, it's all a love story, and it might not seem like it when your parents die when you're so young. But it's truly a love story when someone says, I will care for you. I will be there for you. I will put my arm around you. And after my dad passed away, I truly thought my mum was going to die of a broken heart. She just missed him that much. And I think that's a love story. To miss someone so much it hurts. I think that's a love story. But that's where the love story ends. That's where I came back and I couldn't keep my mum safe every day. I couldn't keep her from fear. I couldn't put my arms around her every day and make it better. But it's also a very short description of my mum's life. Everybody in here now knows a little bit about Joan Whitelaw. But you also now know more about my mum than most of the people involved in her care for the last 6 years of her life. Because nobody really asked. Nobody really asked who she was, who she is, and who they could help her be. Nobody really asked, what would make you smile today? What would make you sad? What could I do today to make you feel safe? Or what would make you feel scared? And if you don't ask those questions, if you don't know the answers to those little but massive questions, I don't think we can truly say we're caring for people. And if you do ask those questions and know the answers, then you are that consultant, you are that district nurse, you are that dementia-friendly community. And I hope you do, because we all deserve a love story. Thank you very much.